And now let's talk about one of the newer and most rapidly evolving of these international trade blocs. It's so new I haven't even talked about it before on video or in the textbook. It's called USAN, USAN, standing for the Union of South American Nations. In Espanol, Unión de Naciones Suramericanas. Sorry to my Spanish-speaking friends. I'm sure I hackneyed that all to pieces. So it's USAN, a.k.a. UNASUR, for my Portuguese-speaking friends, a.k.a. UNASUR for my Dutch-speaking friends. Dutch? What? Yeah, there's actually some Dutch speakers in the South American continent because there was some Dutch colonies down there. But back to USAN, this Union of South American Nations. It is a dream of bygone eras for many South American citizens and many South American governments of many South American states. And it is now unifying all the sovereign states of South America into a single bloc that, like many before, it's starting out as a trade bloc, customs union, but is going to evolve into much, much, much more. It does have aspirations to do much, much, much more. So right now it's an intergovernmental union that's integrating two existing trade blocs together into one. The two blocs are the Andean Community of Nations, a CAN is its acronym, and Mercosur, which you now know a little bit about. And they've already started this integration, so officially on paper, these two have already been slammed together and it's just USAN. Having said that, I think that Mercosur and CAN probably still exist and they're still functioning, but they're in a slow motion process of integrating into a singular whole. Now, I've never even talked about the Andean Community of Nations before, and you won't find it in the textbook either, because it's a small grouping, a trade bloc in northern South America that honestly, and sorry to my Andean friends, but really hasn't constituted much of an economic engine, really not that much trade, hasn't been that big a deal, hasn't made a big impact to the countries nor the region in a broader respect. The Andean Community of Nations was Bolivia, Colombia, Ecuador, and Peru. Okay? And that group is now unified with this other trade bloc that you know about called Mercosur. And that trade bloc has Argentina, Brazil, Paraguay, Uruguay, and Venezuela in it. So they're putting them all together, but they're not alone. They're, of course, now incorporating the three other sovereign states of the South American continent, Chile, which was an associate member of Mercosur, Guyana, and Suriname. So you have all dozen, an even dozen of all the sovereign states of South America that are now under this single umbrella. At least that's what they're working towards. Now, I keep saying South American, South American, South American. This is not Latin America. It's not the Americas. The FTAA was a trade bloc for all the Americas. That's not really happening right now. And I said it's not Latin America. It doesn't include the Caribbean or Mexico or Central America. This is simply the sovereign states of the South American continent. And they're all in the club. So how did this happen? Where did it come from? Why is it so new? It's new. They've been working on it for a decade and perhaps more, but it's mostly been a talking shop. But man, they're making it into a reality very fast, which is why I'm introducing it now, and we'll continue to talk about this into the future. They've had over a dozen, maybe more, of these South American summits where the actual heads of states of the 12 sovereign states of South America have gotten together to chat about this kind of union thing. Sometimes it's their finance ministers, mostly it's them. As the years have gone by, and they probably started this back in 2000, 2002, 2004 was kind of a big deal. They've been doing them at least once a year, and now they're getting together more than once a year. The 2004 South American Summit was the kind of the biggest deal because that's the first time all 12 heads of state of South America got together and signed the Cusco Declaration, which was a letter of intent announcing the establishment of the then-named South American Community of Nations. They've now changed it to USAN. And it was such a big deal that Panama and Mexico, while not in this club nor in South America, were present as observer states to witness this. And what the letter of intent was saying is, we are intending on modeling this new South American community basically in the mold of a European Union, meaning in the foreseeable future, We want to have a unified passport system, a unified single parliamentary style system for the entire continent where we get together and make rules and stuff, and eventually even a single currency. That, of course, would be in conjunction with having a free trade bloc, which is always the base of these things, but we'll get back to that in a second. Now, they signed that in 2004, and dig this, my friends, in May of 2008 in Brasilia, Brazil, they formalized it and basically said it's a done deal. All the heads of states signed it and we're done. And these two blocks with our other 3 states that weren't in these 2 blocks are all together now in this thing called USAN. It is not a coincidence, by the way, my friends, that this deal got formalized in Brasilia, Brazil, because it's been my instinct the whole time I've been watching this group that Brazil may have a lot to do with it. Brazil may have not invented it, but Brazil certainly has been instigating and influencing and kind of motivating all the states to get on board with this concept. Probably because of the failed negotiations of the FTAA, that free trade area of the Americas that the United States was pushing. Brazil was never fully behind that whole FTAA deal because Brazil, like many other Latin American states, thought that perhaps being in a superstructure with the powerhouse United States at the head of it was not the greatest position for them. And Brazil specifically said, no, we see ourselves as a leader of South America, not a follower of the United States and a grander FTAA. Brazil wants to lead, and this, I think, is how they are doing it. Saying, hey, we're going to have a free trade area, all right, but it's going to be of South America for South Americans. Because you know what? It's been a dream since Simon Bolivar, the great liberator of South American states during the independence movements of South America, that South America should be more already, that we should be kind of more like a United States of South America. I think Brazil's pushing it since they are such a big economy now and a regional influencer and a world power, second-tier world power, that they're saying, yes, we are going to lead the way here to make a better trade bloc. And you know what? We're all kind of culturally the same here in South America. We're all about the same levels of development. We all share the same problems. We should have our bloc that's something more like the European Union and not be a part of this big FTAA. And again, I have not talked about it much in the past because I wasn't sure where it was going. But it's going places now, my friends. As I suggested, they're having these summits every year now, but perhaps even more than once a year. They're inking deals left and right. And let's just talk about it now very quickly. What is it this group is going to do that's different than other folks? Well, first off, we'll say what's the same between this group and other groups internationally is they have formed it up, okay, under the major structure of that it's going to be a single market, a free trade bloc, a free trade area. One of the major initiatives was the creation of a single market, starting with the elimination of all tariffs, that's taxes, between states for non-sensitive products by 2014. Now, what exactly is non-sensitive? I don't know. But 2014, hey, that's now. So the first round of this is already, okay, well, anything that's not a critical component of your national economy, we'll go ahead and say that it's free trade now. You can't tax Colombian coffee in Chile, and Brazil you can't tax Venezuelan petroleum, and Venezuela you can't tax soybeans out of Brazil. Then again, maybe some of those things are critical, I don't know. But they're saying if it's non-sensitive, no tariffs, no taxes, in an effort to increase trade. Just like NAFTA. So much like NAFTA, like, yes, this is what we're going to do. So we all, it makes it cheaper products for all the peoples of South America. And if it's cheaper, people buy more. We all buy more. We produce more. We all produce more money, 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 money. That's what the essence of free trade blocs. Here's the deal, though. They're pushing hard. So they're saying, okay, non-sensitive stuff, no taxes on it already. Even sensitive products by 2019. That's just 5 years away. No tariffs on anything in South America, period. Anything. Any commodities, I assume that means financial services, business services, anything, anywhere, it's all tariff-free by 2019. That's a big deal. Here's what's not so NAFTA about it. They got a bank. So USAN already has the South American Bank that they formed back in 2007. What? That's crazy? Not many other regional trade blocs have that just as yet. That's much more like the EU and definitely not like NAFTA. So all these governments ponied up money, put it into a basically central bank of South America. I believe it's located in Caracas, Venezuela. Boy, that's got to irk the United States. And that bank is used solely to lend money, actually it's mostly credit, to its member states for probably infrastructure projects and things of that nature. So it's more like a World Bank, but just for South American. It's a credit card for South American states, and they're all sharing in this banking financial venture. That's kind of cool and unique. On top of that, I already said they're probably going to lend money for infrastructure development. They have a coordinated infrastructure cooperation and development scheme. That's not terribly unique, but it's definitely more like the EU, less like NAFTA. So they're saying, hey, we're going to work together, all 12 sovereign states of South America, to build an interstate highway system for the continent. Boom! That doesn't even exist yet, friends. That's kind of cool. And if you're going to develop that interstate highway system, it would be cool because you'll be able to take, Ocean Highway 1 from Panama all the way down the west side of the Andes to Chile. That'd be wicked cool. But if you're going to do road, then obviously you'll probably do rail. So rail infrastructure will probably be improved. And how will they do it? They're going to use their South American bank to lend money to different places to get it done. See how they're working together in ways not like NAFTA, more like the EU. Actually, even beyond the EU a little bit. They even already have a South American energy ring of natty gas. Natural gas, I should say. And that is, they say, hey, we all use natural gas, cleaner burning energy. So we want to promote that, and we all need it. So we're going to organize our energy infrastructure for each other. That's kind of cool, too. All things that are a little bit unique, not the free trade part. That's easy to understand. Other things that are quite unique about it is that USAN, aka UNASUR, has said that we don't want any new bureaucracy. So we will not establish any new bureaucracy, any new offices, or any new buildings. We're only going to use the existing infrastructure and positions and people that we have from the Andean community and Mercosur. Wow. Wow, that's forward thinking. A bureaucracy that's suggesting they don't want a bigger bureaucracy? How novel. Let's see how long they can get away with that. Obviously, as time progresses and they further integrate, they'll have to start renaming things and stuff, but they're trying to minimize bureaucracy and red tape and waste. The other thing is that they have a common defense policy in USAN. Now, don't read too deeply into this. It's mostly for regional security. They're going to support each other for regional security. That would be things like anti-terrorism, or if there's a political coup somewhere, they're going to support each other's governments to not allow for that type of chaos or political consternation or terrorism or anything of that nature. So regional security, but they're also promoting military cooperation between the militaries of all 12 states. Cooperation, that's a fairly light term. Don't read too deeply into it. And regional defense. And this is the one that I think is entirely nebulous. When you say regional defense, it sounds like you're saying if anybody attacks a South American state, then they're all going to come whip some Latino ass on you. But I don't think that's the case. In fact, Brazil, Argentina, and Chile have openly said since all the negotiations started with this group, let's not, no. We're not suggesting we're in NATO. Make sure you understand what I'm saying. This USAN has some sort of defensive policy and coordination of military and things of that nature, but they are not a NATO. They do not have an Article 5. They made that expressly clear. No, we're not doing that. We're going to help each other out, but we're not going to dedicate to armed resistance if somebody gets attacked. So they're not at that point yet. However, the thing that I think is most intriguing about it is that they do want to coordinate foreign policy. So they are saying, hey, we as a group are going to start making foreign policy statements. That we will say we do not condone, we, USAN, do not condone the U.S. invading Syria or Russia invading Ukraine, or we, USAN, are going to supply 5,000 troops to the United Nations for the Congo. That's interesting. So again, that's more like the EU, less like NAFTA to have coordinated foreign policy. Something to think about. The other thing that is entirely, not entirely, but mostly unique to USAN is that they are pushing for free movement of people. Much like its component now, organization Mercosur, The USAN group is saying, yep, we're working towards free movement of all the peeps of South America to all the parts of South America. Now, they're not there yet, but already any South American citizen of any state for 90 days can just walk around the country, can go on vacation, can tour, and they don't need a visa, they don't need papers, they don't need nothing. All they need is their ID. I'm a Brazilian citizen, or I'm a Paraguayan citizen, or I'm a Venezuelan citizen. You can go anywhere you want to in the continent of South America. That's kind of cool. Okay, you can't do that in NAFTA. Just ask Mexico. On top of that, most of these states in 2006 signed an agreement to abolish visa requirements for tourists to any of their states. So me as an outsider, an American, can go down to Venezuela. Wouldn't that be a fun vacation? And I can then from Venezuela go anywhere in South America. And I don't need a separate visa to go from country to country. That's cool too. But the coolest and most important thing that I want you to recognize here is that they're working towards free movement of their peoples on a more permanent basis. And by that I mean Mercosur, the Mercosur bloc, along with Bolivia and Chile, have already established a area of free residence with the right to work. Meaning, any of the people in those states can go to those other states I just mentioned and say, I want a job and I'm going to work here. If any of you have ever traveled abroad or tried to work abroad, you understand that's not easy to do. Just ask folks trying to get a green card in the United States. It's not easy to do. And this group is saying, yep, we're working towards that. So for up to 2 years, anybody in South America can go to a neighboring state, plop down, get a place, buy a house, and work. That's unique. Again, they're at the beginnings of this. It's likely to go much further, and that's actually taking it a bit beyond even what the EU is doing. The EU is kind of retracting a little bit of its free movement of people. People are worried about immigration, and there's starting to be cultural tensions, and so they're reassessing, are we going to allow people to move from Bulgaria to Great Britain? And here, the USAN group is now the one plowing forward saying, we're already letting people work anywhere they want, well, mostly, and we're going to try to integrate that to the whole continent and maybe in permanence. So USAN, an exceptionally interesting organization to watch in that it's new, but it's moving very fast. It's evolving very fast into something that perhaps is going to go beyond the European Union. It's already well beyond NAFTA, even though it hasn't had the economic success of NAFTA yet. But building roads and energy networks and allowing people to move around, it's quite unique. The organization's exact structure and functions, and even its name, are still a little nebulous. It's still kind of new, but it definitely aspires for continental integration closer to the European Union or beyond, rather than being just a mere free trade area. So keep your eye on the Bolivarian dream perhaps coming true, a United States of South America, question mark? I don't know, but USAN apparently is going to be the start.